Well, that is Lily Allen's story, but this is far from just a celebrity issue. And joining us now is a stalking victim and now campaigner Claire Waxman, alongside her former Met detective Jackie Harms. Morning to both of you. Claire, when you read Lily's story at the weekend, how did that make you feel?
Well, it's very reminiscent of my own story in many ways. You know, having had my stalking start off with anonymous emails, then I was being followed. So I know just how invasive it is and how terrifying it is. And also the lack of police response that I experienced on my case. Stalking really wasn't taken very seriously, but this was over, we started 12 years ago with this case. I had hoped that things would have changed over the years when we campaigned for the stalking law, but it's evident in Lily's case that things haven't changed quick enough.
But this has been something, as you just said then, 12 years that you have, because it's been described as death by 1,000 cuts. You know, it's one of those crimes which eventually ends up being a crime, hopefully, if you manage to convict your perpetrator. But slowly, insidiously, just climbing, creeping into your life.
Absolutely, and it's that drip, drip effect that is so terrifying and also so difficult for victims to live with. And the issue that we have is the police still only look at isolated acts, and they need to be looking at all of it in the totality, because that really shows you the pattern of stalking behaviour, and then you can understand the true impact it's having on its victim.
I suppose when it starts, like Philip said, over 12 years, initially if it's Lily started as a tweet, it maybe seems innocuous to begin with. Is that how yours started? Did you think, this is nothing, it's just a guy sending me the odd letter?
And that's why National Stalking Awareness Week this week, because we try to raise awareness of stalking so that people, if they're being stalked, victims can understand that is stalking and that there is a legislation in place that is supposed to be there to protect them and help them, because people can often downgrade it, and the police do that as well. Oh, well, it's just a bit of cyber stalking, or it's just a few emails, or
so what made
sightings.
that different for you? Yeah. When did it become sinister?
When it just continued. It's that unwanted behaviour and attention that you've said no, and yet it continues and it continues. And you start to feel as a victim, and all victims you speak to feel the same, this sense of fear. You're walking around or you're in your home and you feel you're being watched, you're very hypervigilant, and it starts to directly affect your life to the point that you isolate yourself. You don't go out. I moved 5 times, Lily probably feeling very fearful in her home.
He still found you?
Still found me, changed my phone. It's always the victim changing their behaviour, but the perpetrator seems to continue.
How did you find your new phone number?
How do we find all the information? Stalkers are very, very clever people. They spend their life, focused and fixated on their victim and trying to find out about as much information as possible about them.
What was the worst moment? Because we were saying earlier, Lily Allen saying she woke up with someone in her bedroom. I mean, that is like your worst nightmare. How bad did it get for you?
I think probably the worst moment, and it's interesting because Lily's just put this out today, that she's never seen a photo. The police have not allowed her a photo of her stalker, yet I think the Daily Mail have actually put it out today, and that's very frightening for her. And I had the same issue even 6 years into my case. The police wouldn't issue a photo of my stalker to my daughter's nursery. It was a whole human rights issue, and I battled that. Eventually they gave the photo, and the nursery confirmed he'd signed in and had a look around the nursery. And that was probably my most frightening moment, because as a parent, all you want to do is protect your children. And he had found out what nursery she'd gone to, and he'd purposely put his name in and to send me a message, I'm here, I'm following her.
Even convicting him wasn't simple, was it? It involved, sort of landmark cases.
Yeah, I mean, and we've had 5, he's been convicted 5 times, and he could have been convicted so many more times. That was such a hard push to get those 5 prosecutions.
And he's in jail at the moment.
He's in jail at the moment. And the issue, why my case goes on and why we are so set on trying to get stalking victims help early on, is because there was no early intervention. And I think that's what happens. This fixation continues and continues, and it can escalate, and that's why it's gone on for 12 years.
So he, as Ruth said, is currently in custody, in prison.
In prison.
And so what happens when he comes out?
Well, he comes out under licence. He only obviously serves half his time and then comes out under licence conditions. He did obviously breach his licence conditions previously and had to then see out his whole sentence. I'm not that hopeful. That's why I do so much on campaigning, trying to change the laws, trying to look at sentences, trying to look at psychiatric treatment programmes for stalkers, because I'm trying to work out a way of how to deal for me and for all victims so that we feel safe.